Dr. Jack Robinson is a professor of English at McCune University, where he teaches students how to engage critically with literature, writing, and the ideas that shape the world around them. For many students, their understanding of a professor's job begins and ends in the classroom. What often goes unseen is the work that happens beyond the lecture itself: preparation, grading, communication, and the ongoing demands of academic life. These responsibilities are central to teaching, yet they are very rarely visible from a student perspective. In this video, Dr. Robinson reflects on the realities of being a university professor, offering insight into the labor, challenges, and meaning behind a role that is often misunderstood. Through his perspective, we move beyond the lecture to a better understanding of the work behind it.
Well, I'm pretty sure that students don't see all of the preparation that goes into it, into the class, and that students don't see all of the marking that happens later, and I guess the worrying that goes in to handling the class, making sure that it progresses clearly from one class to another. That's something that came up in an earlier one, has been fully addressed or needs to be more fully addressed. I'm imagining that it just kind of appears as it rolls like a video, to students. But yeah, there's a lot of thought that happens in between, and the luxury of my teaching has always been that I put the extra thought in and the extra preparation. And I'll tell you, Rayanne, this has been going on for like 30 years. I meet colleagues, and my wife meets colleagues, and they say, well, why should I read an extra book? Why not just teach the same book, right? And I just don't buy it. You see, it's all of that consideration and preparation for the next time. I read the student evaluations, and I take that into account, and I read all of the final exams. Now, I have colleagues who say, oh, you don't need to read all of those because the course is over. But I read all of the final exams carefully, and I take into account the answers for the lectures for the next offering of the course, right? Because those answers are very informative. The students often figure things out that I need to figure out, right? I'm looking for the answer to a particular theme that has emerged in the text, and the students have the answer. They put the answer in their final exam answers, and I would miss that answer. So it's all of that kind of thing. I always read new research before the next offering of the course. Oh, that's a great question. Biggest challenges being an educator today are AI and social media and cell phones. Those three. First of all, AI encourages students to think that cheating is okay, right? In fact, they lose track of the border between cheating and using a technical device. Students are so enamored of AI that they would use it to tie their shoes if they could. And so they think, well, why wouldn't I use it? Everybody's talking about it, everybody's buzzing about it. But of course, it's a cheat, right? It is a cheat that's easy to spot, but, time consuming to deal with. So I'm going to, in my next offering of my course, I'm going to have all of the assignments written in class and topic given just at the beginning of the class. So that's an example of a necessary change. But back to the cell phones and social media. The stats say that some people spend as much as 5 hours a day on social media. And so undivided attention is a thing of the past. I would like it in my classes, but I know it's not going to happen. And It's now proven and documented that this is causing not only problems with attention, but problems with mental health. You know, all of these hours spent on social media. So those are the big problems. They're new, they're relatively new. I still love the work because I love working with language and I love reading carefully. I love trying to convey those things well. I think that in a sense, working with language may be becoming a lost art. The attitude seems to be, if I can get a machine to do it, why would I do it, right? It seems to be that those language skills, those verbal skills, that sense of style is being lost. You know, it's under attack. And yet, I mean, Chapters is surviving, and so there's evidence that maybe literature will survive, but I've always loved literature. And I like distinguishing between the good and the bad. So I like working in that area. I do hope that that is one of the areas that survives the barrage of AI, because obviously everything is going to change. And AI will move into some areas. And I'm concerned about it moving into this area because it doesn't know this material. And it's not good at this material so far. So I would like to hope that, you know, education, health sciences, these things that require a human touch and some creativity are the things that will remain human occupations rather than being transferred to AI. Of course, I have no control over that kind of thing, but I'm dedicated to that kind of work. I love it. So if you want to be a professor of computer science, that's a very different thing. Or, you know, a professor of mathematics or a professor of business, that's different. But if you want to be a professor in the humanities, I would say, you know, keep reading. Number one, just keep reading. Don't stop reading. It's so important. You know, because when you read, and you know this, that's when you grow your vocabulary and you grow your thought. Because of course you're not just agreeing with everything you read, you know, you're often coming up with your own counter thoughts. And all of that is training. People seem to regard reading as some sort of pseudo experience, not real experience. Well, it may be an experience that happens more within than outside. You know, it's not sports, but it's a very important experience. That's when so many parts of the mind and the emotions and the soul are growing. Like reading is the means of growing those parts of us. So that's 3 out of 4 parts, right? Mind, emotions, soul. The only other part is body. And we can get a lot of ideas through reading that are about the good care of the body too. You gotta read, you know, and write, especially if you want to be a professor of the humanities.